Hey, it's BT with Tales from the Gemini. Thank you so much. I like that intro, man. Wyatt knows me. If you know my Sorry We're Canceled podcast, we always come on with a little more flavor. Is that what you say? A little more flavor with some beats. And I try to rap, and I'm not that good. But when I come on with kind of a rock and roll beat, that was pretty good, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't know what I was gonna say, but. Yeah, it was. I mean, if I got something to I didn't have to rhyme, but, it's all whoa, down the street. That was pretty good. After that, I need to write some lyrics, but I got that, man. I mean, I'm more rock and roll than anything, I got the stance. I got the air guitar look. I mean, that's me, bro.
Keep that in mind for the next
podcast. Well, thanks. It's me and Wyatt and Tales from the Gemini podcast. This guest I have today, I am so excited. I know her intimately, not intimately. Intimately sounds where we're dating, but not intimately like that. But I know this next guest very well, and also and I try to get people that inspire when I do this podcast. It's not just for shits and giggles. It is, but it isn't, because I think you can pull something from people, a story that maybe you connect to and go and maybe that inspires people, because you just never know who you inspire. And people take a chance and they may click on and listen. And they go, oh, and you just never know. I know it sounds corny, but it's like when you listen to a coach tell one of those speeches. Like you played basketball, right, Wyatt? So
yeah.
When those coaches tell one of those speeches, what you got to do to be a champion, and you're actually listening. And there's one guys who kind of rolling their eyes, like, man, whatever. And it's like, it sounds corny, but if I listened to my coach, and it got me so much further than the other guys. I mean, but everybody's goal is different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love these interviews, and I love the chats. I call them chats. So if they can inspire just one or two people, man, that's enough for me, and that's what I like. You know what? Let's click on the link, please, for this person coming up.
They got to click that link to join.
Okay. So I see. I messaged them. So say we're ready. Come on, please. I wonder if she's practicing. So I like to live it to so you send it to her?
Yep, she's got it.
Okay. Oh, come on, Nikki, come on. We can edit this part out, right?
Yeah, we can cut it.
That's good. Come on. It's 12:05. Come on, here we go. Okay, so she should be. She knows. You'll see it before I will, right?
Yeah, it'll be on the screen.
And that's my favorite part, right?
That is my favorite part as well.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just my favorite part because it's your favorite part.
We ought to do a what's the name of your podcast? It's what is it called? Your podcast is the ball. What's it called?
Whose?
Yours.
Oh, I don't really do one like that.
Okay. I thought you had one.
Yeah, it's just like my name and then a podcast.
Okay. Well, I ought to do yours. I think it'd be interesting. Me and you together.
That would be interesting.
I think it would be. Yeah. If she didn't click on it, it is gonna be me and you. You know what I mean? It is. Come on, Nikki. Come on, Nix. Maybe her internet is bad.
Did she say anything?
Yeah, because I hit her up at 9:42. I said, talking to you and a couple, looking forward to it. She said 6 p.m., right? And my time. And I said, yes, which is noon my time. Have your Zoom ready and let's have some fun. And then 11:54, I said, we're in the studio. We'll hit you up at 6:05 your time. Click the link and we'll be good to go. Here we go. Coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, on Tales from the Gemini, here comes our guest. Here we go. She's joining.
It's loading. Here
we go. Come on. God, I feel it's all my fault too that we're it's early, late, whatever. There we go. Come on, Nikki Daly. She's coming. Come on. Hey, what's up, Nick? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, on Tales from the Gemini, the guest I have here, and let me do it formally. We know each other intimately, not like intimately, but we know each other intimately. She was my roommate for a brief period of time, and we worked out together. This is one of the greatest athletes I know because I personally witnessed it. And today at the gym, I got my heart rate up to 177 beats per minute because of you. I remember we jogged on a treadmill, and this is how much of an athlete she is. We're right next to each other. She literally is I think she had it on 9, Wyatt. She was on 9, and I was like struggling at 6 or whatever. And I got off my treadmill, went to work out. As we're going home, I go, remember when I was on the treadmill next to you? She goes, no, I don't. I mean, she was in her zone. I mean, she's an incredible athlete. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Nicci Daly right now is my guest. Nicci Daly is... She, first of all, a silver medalist in the World Cup for the Irish female field hockey team. She comes from greatness. Her cousin is Connor Daly, who raced in the Indy 500. And is it uncle? Yeah. Uncle Derek Daly, a Formula One driver, and your dad also raced. So you come from sports royalty. Nicci, how are you, sweetie?
I'm good, BT. It's good to see you. It's been so long.
Great. It's great to see, and it's my fault that we're late. Only because it's my fault because we said it's 6 o'clock your time.
Why am I not surprised?
I know. Well, you ain't gotta say it like that and make me look bad in front of my chicks. You ain't gotta say it like that. But yeah, it's my fault that we're going on late because you thought you had a whole another hour, and I'm calling you. Hey, where are you? I'm like, yeah, you said 6 o'clock and it was 5. So my bad. But anyway, great to see you. Great to have you on my show, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You were going to be on my show because. I just love your story. I mean, like I said, we grew up, we knew each other, like I said, brief roommates for a while, but I've always admired your everything. You always had a glow about you, and I mean it. There was a glow about you. I know a great soul about you, and I was reading and trying to research your story or whatever, so people will know. And I thought one of the funniest things I think was your first car you shared with your brother.
Yeah. God, where did you go to get that information?
And that's none of your business. What I did was I got that story, and I thought that was the funny thing. Tell me how that car came to not be anymore. That's what I want to know, the story. And tell the people the story.
Well, there was a few cars now, so I'm not sure which one you're exactly talking about.
Your very first car that you shared with your brother.
The one that may or may not have ended up around a tree.
Yes,
or a ditch.
at the rally.
Or
the
both.
One at the rally. Yes.
Yeah, look, we shared a car when we were younger. I suppose that's kind of how, we couldn't afford one each, and as siblings do, you have to share. We went to the same school together, but let's just say we were both like curious as to how good of racing drivers we could have been, and maybe he was a bit more curious than I was. And yeah, that car kind of ended up around a tree at one stage, in a ditch, and also I don't know, many other places probably at the same time, if it's the same car I'm thinking of.
Now, whose fault was that? Whose fault was it?
Oh, his. Of course.
I think that is great. Now, what I loved about your story is that if anybody didn't know, like I said, you're a field hockey player, and you're going to the Olympics. Fingers crossed, going to the Olympics. But you grew up, and your dad was a racer. Now, you ended up being a mechanical engineer in college, but it was because your dad raced and you helped your dad get his car that you realized, hey, I'm actually doing engineering.
Yeah, well, I did engineering. I did mechanical engineering for my undergraduate degree here in Ireland. And when I kind of got to the end of that, it was like, oh, what will I do? What's, where are most people kind of going in the industry? And a lot of people were kind of ended up in pharmaceutical or biomed or, Intel, things like that. And I just didn't see myself working for any of those firms or any of those kind of industries. So it was kind of like going back to, well, what do I know? Like, what am I interested in? And it came back to the racing. But I probably didn't understand the racing a whole lot from an engineering side at the time, especially when I was growing up. It was just, my dad was his own engineer. He was his own mechanic. He was the racing driver as well. He was kind of like, one-man band. So when I got kind of like looked into it a little bit, and I saw this course in England, it was a master's in motorsport engineering. And I was like, this is it. This is for me. This has my name written all over it.
Yeah.
And so I went over there. But I mean, it was, this is going back in 2012 when I did this. So it's like 8 years ago. And at the time, we probably didn't have these like women in motorsport initiatives or anything out there to kind of encourage girls into that route or down that direction. Right. So I was a little bit apprehensive about going over there and, kind of second guessed whether, will I fit in here? Should I be doing this? Is this for girls? Is it not for girls? And like turned out that it wasn't very popular among the girls. I was one of only 2 in the class. Mm-hmm. But I knew it was something that I had a big passion for, motorsport in general. Like, didn't think I was going to, jump in and be brilliant at this engineering side of it, and it proved to be quite difficult.
Right.
But I got through it, and I ended up kind of going over to the States and becoming your roommate and doing, working for a racing team over there, Juncos Racing, who were so welcoming, and I really felt like they were like almost like a family that I fitted into over there, and got to do almost 2 years experience working for them as a data engineer. And again, like I was the only female engineer in the team, but at the time when I got over there, again, a little bit apprehensive, but they made me feel so welcome, and some of the guys in the team today are still my best friends still. So it was an incredible experience for me, and that was kind of where I ended up going with the motorsport angle.
Okay. So growing up, I know you said your dad raced and you helped your dad. Now, did you fall in love with motorsport because you helped your dad and it got you guys close, or was it just, and you were around it, or because sometimes you grow up around something, but some kids kind of like take a different path. Like, how did you happen to just stay grounded in that love for it?
I think it was just like spending every weekend down there since I was born, pretty much. My dad was very well known here in Ireland. Like, he had a bit of a profile in terms of Irish motorsport, and he was probably the most successful Irish driver of his time, during the period that he raced, and he raced here for over 20 years.
Wow.
He was unique in the sense as well that, motorsport wasn't that big of a sport here, but he kind of was that professional about it. He made it seem like it was a lot bigger than it was, and he had commercial sponsorship in like fast food restaurants over here called Abracadabra sponsored him, and he had Pepsi Cola sponsor him, and 2FM, which is a radio station over here, big radio station over here. So he made it seem like it was a lot bigger than maybe it was, and his races were on TV at the time, and he was on radio interviews, and he treated it like he was a professional in the sport, and he wanted to elevate the sport to that sort of level of professionalism.
So did that make an impression on you at that young of an age?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw him as a bit of a hero, and people knew him, and people came up to him, and they were looking for autographs and things like that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he wasn't a big sports star or anything like that in Ireland, but he did do a lot for Irish motorsport, and it sort of did bring it to a level that maybe wasn't there before, or certainly isn't really there now. And obviously, like with my uncle, obviously knew about his career all growing up, and the older I got, the more I understood how big he was and what he did for Irish motorsport.
Now, what memory sticks out in your mind being with your dad at the racetrack? Like, what memory, like, did you go, oh, yeah, like that was the best memory? Because everybody has a memory that just you can't get out of your mind, and it always brings a smile to your face.
Oh, there's so many of them, like being in Mondello. I think what I remember most about him was he was very quiet in himself. Like, he went about his business, quietly, but he was very clever and very smart, and he could read the opposition very well and things like that. But I think it was just, he would always get me to be involved with it because he was on his own. He was the driver, the engineer, and the mechanic sort of all in one. But, one thing that he'd give me responsibility for was doing his lap times, which is a big responsibility because you don't want to hit that stopwatch wrong or forget to hit the stopwatch at any single time, because that's happened, and I know exactly how that feels to get that wrong.
How old were you when you had that responsibility? How old were you then?
Oh, probably like 10 or 11.
Oh my gosh. So at 10 o'clock, at 10 years old, you had to make sure you hit the stopwatch right.
And hand him out the pit board to show him his lap time, like put the numbers on the pit board, stick it over the wall, make sure he could see it.
Oh my God, but that was great.
Yeah, it was. Obviously cleaning the bodywork and the wheels and all those kind of jobs were very important to him. Like he did, like the presentation of his car, of him, his setup was very important to him. And whatever way we could have, even ourselves, we were dressed in team gear and stuff like that, which that was just very important to him. So
that's awesome. So at 10 years old, you got team gear. You giving your dad lap times and saying, do you ever tell your dad to speed it up? Like, hey, or like, you got to think, Dad. Did you ever do that as a fifth grader going, Dad, think about what you're doing? Did you ever do?
No, he didn't really take constructive criticism very well. In fact, he didn't take any criticism very well.
Especially from a 10-year-old. Dad,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What were you thinking? Did you
Exactly.
did you ever think to tell your dad, hey, what were you thinking out there? Did you ever think to do that?
Well, I know one thing I could never do was watch the start of the races. And I used to go to the cab of the truck and watch he used to park in front of the back straight.
Mhm.
So I would sit at the cab of the truck because I was just too nervous, like they were, at the time, they were the highest powered racing car that we had in the country. So, and again, at 10 years of age, you think they're like Formula One cars and they're that powerful, and
Yeah.
there's obviously an element of danger as well. So the first corner was something I never really could get myself to, sit and watch at, or
Yeah.
from the grandstand.
Yeah.
And I used to be so nervous before the starts, like so nervous that I'd sit in the front of the truck and I knew where he'd qualified. It was typically like on pole or just off pole.
Right.
So I knew, okay, first or second, he's got to come around here in first or second. And if he didn't, I'd be like, oh no, something's after happening. So I don't know, for some reason that just helped me get through the starts of the races, just not being able to watch it live.
Really?
Into the first corner. Yeah, now I look back at them all and I'm like, oh my God, I appreciate his racing so much more, and the way he drove so much more, because I can understand it now.
Yeah.
And I can see what kind of a driver he was.
Now, did you want to be, growing up, did you want to be a racer because your dad, and did you figure, most girls don't, so I'm not going to pursue this?
Yeah, no, I always wanted to be a racing driver. And it was probably, at that time, the thought of most girls don't do this didn't even enter my head. That was sort of a later thing in life.
Yeah.
But from a young age, I remember he used to bring us to indoor karting facility in Dublin, Colmore Karting. And he brought us there to take part in these kind of Sunday competitions. And I just loved it. And there was guys there that would come with their professionally painted helmets, and we'd be there stuck with the rental helmets. Like, we really stuck out like sore thumbs. But I didn't care. And me and my brother, we both loved it. But I think at the time, my dad was so committed to his own racing, and he was very much invested in that he didn't really have the time. He wouldn't have had the time to run us. I don't think it was a case that he didn't want us to.
Yeah.
I think he was just, he obviously had this set up for his own career that he was committed to kind of seeing through. And then he passed away before we, maybe would have got that opportunity after he retired or anything like that.
How old were you when he passed away?
I was 14.
Now, how did that have an impact on you? Like when it happened later, and how did you use that to fuel yourself where you're at now? I mean, or has it?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it's been a huge part of probably where I am now. Like, like I said, I for someone in a sport that it wasn't a professional sport at all, but the way he approached it himself was very professional. And I suppose that's something you can take into no matter what it is you do in life. It doesn't have to be an amazing setup, or nothing has to be the way you want it to be, but you can still have an attitude and a professionalism about yourself, about how you go about your business. And I think that's probably something I try to bring to my own life, whether it's hockey. Like, hockey's not a professional setup, but you can still try to be as professional as you can, be as good as you can as the rest of the professionals in the world, and train as hard as them. And obviously your attitude is a huge part of that as well. So I think while it's not something anyone really wants to experience, or something that you would wish on anyone, of course not, but I think it allows you to grow and develop at a rate a lot quicker than maybe you would have if it hadn't happened, if that makes sense.
Did it take a while for you to take that in from that? I mean, to learn that, or did you immediately?
No, of course. I mean, you go through so many different emotions, I think, when something like that happens to you. And when it's so young, my dad was 48, my mom was 47, and she was, widowed with 4 kids. And my youngest sister was only 5 or 6, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like life has to go on, but you're trying to grieve and you're trying to process all this. That's what's happening. And, sport was a huge outlet for me for that. So luckily I was playing a lot of different sports, and I was really interested in sport. It didn't really matter what I was playing, but that was kind of an outlet for me to kind of take my mind off what was happening, you know, or the fact that I probably hadn't really processed what had happened.
Right.
And yeah, I think you just go through a whole lot of different emotions, and it's through those emotions you process one bit at a time, and you don't realize at the time, but you are growing and developing as a person throughout it. And I still am, you know. There's still things today that, you know, I can think, oh, I missed out on that maybe with my dad or things like that, and you just try and take it in a different direction.
Well, I personally have seen what kind of a great athlete you are because, you know, we kick the soccer ball around. You have great soccer skills, but you're on the world team for the women's field hockey. So how did you realize like hockey was your sport? Like field hockey was your sport? Like I've seen the skills you have in soccer or football, as they say, and I'm like, wow, she's good. I mean, because of you, I wouldn't got me some soccer cleats. I'm like, I'm gonna show her. So the next time she comes back, I'm gonna show her. And so I don't know if I got to your skills yet, but I got cleats, and we got 2 soccer balls at home, just in case you ever come by and surprise visit. I'm ready for you. I'm like Black Ronaldo. I'm ready for you, so you can go ahead and bring it. So when did you realize that field hockey was your sport?
To be honest, like I never knew anything about field hockey. I was a complete newcomer to it when I started playing it, and in fact, I was very stubborn to the idea of it in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But it challenged me, and I think that's something that I like. I like a challenge. Like, as a young person, I took to sports quite naturally enough. Like soccer kind of came handy enough to me. I could kick a ball, you know, playing in school. I never played on a soccer team, but I just played in school with the lads in my class. And it was just something I just liked it, and I practiced it at home, and whatever skills that, you know, the soccer players are doing at the time, they're the ones I wanted to do. But when I started secondary school, I started playing hockey, and I think it was the fact that it was a little bit more challenging of a sport than soccer, or Gaelic football is what I played a lot of as well. It was the fact that it was like, wow, this is actually quite difficult. I want to see if I can do these skills. These seem a lot harder.
Now, was it because that you weren't as good at that made you go, I want to get good at this? Is that why?
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like because I didn't take to it as quickly or as naturally as I took the other sports that I played. I was like, okay, this one's challenging me a lot more. I want to see how far I can go with this sport. And I think that's kind of where it came from. And then
did you ever fall,
I never imagined myself
myself
playing on the Irish team. That was a later in life thing, because I didn't even know there was an Irish hockey team at the time.
Now, have you ever fallen in love with, even though it challenged you and you made the team and you want to get better at, did you ever have you fallen in love with it? I mean, is that your passion? I mean, I know we'll get to know the sports part of it, but even though you play it, because there's some athletes that I've listened to interviews with a lot of like motorcycle racers, for instance, where they don't love it, but they just want to be the best at it. They know they're good at it. They want to be the best at it. Now, is field hockey something that you love, is in your heart, or you just do it because that's what you're good at and that's what you train for?
No, it definitely became a passion, like when I started on the Irish team, and it was like there was the mention of the Olympics and trying to get there. That definitely like stuck with me as a goal that I wanted to achieve, because if that was possible in this sport, I wanted to be part of maybe making that possible. But I think my passion really has always been motorsport. I do have a passion for hockey. I think my passion started with that a long time ago, and I think because it's me, that's the only thing associated with that sport in hockey. And obviously everything that we've achieved with the Irish team has been incredible, and to be part of that team that has been on that journey, and we're still on that journey. I think motorsport has been a passion that's sort of born within me, and has a lot more to it sort of personally for me, like the connection with that myself and my family is a big connection around that. But yeah, I mean, definitely I think I wouldn't be playing hockey for as long as I am if I wasn't passionate about it, and certainly trying to achieve the goals that I want to achieve, you need to be passionate about it on some level.
Well, you're 10 years on the national team in February. Okay, so you're kind of like the veteran of the sport now, and this is what I love about this is getting to your mental, because now going into the World Cup of was it in 17 or 18? Is it 2018 in June?
2018.
18 June. Now, word was that you guys kind of knew your team and say, hey, we don't see ourselves going to the final, whatever, maybe what. And you ended up getting a silver medal. Now, you guys surprised yourself. Am I correct? You guys surprised as a team. So walk me through that. And I think your inspiration, if I'm not correct, was a Mariah Carey song. Was it not? All I Want for Christmas Is You. How did that become the team rallying cry? How did Mariah Carey bring you guys together? When I hear her, she just turns me apart. I mean, so how is it that Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You, how did that become the rallying cry for a team?
Well, just going back to the World Cup itself, like I said, this team has been on an incredible journey. And while we probably didn't see ourselves getting to a final of a World Cup, we did see ourselves creating some sort of an upset on the world stage. Because
how is that? How did you see yourself doing an upset?
Because if you go back to where the journey kind of started, and it kind of starts in 2013-14 when Darren Smith came in as the coach, and we had a terrible 2013. Like, we didn't even make the qualifier for the World Cup, never mind the World Cup. We got relegated from the A Division European Championships. So we couldn't have actually got any further away from where we are now. But in that was the start of this regeneration of the team. And 2014 was probably the start of it, where we went to what's called the Champions Challenge. And it's Champions Challenge 2 because it's based on where we were ranked in the world. So it was for teams ranked 8 to 16, I think, at the time. And we were ranked 15th. So we went to this tournament called Champions Challenge 2, ranked the second lowest team in the tournament, and we finished second. Okay, so it's not the first time we've been a lower ranked team finishing second in a competition. And that was massive for us. Yeah. And from there, then we went on 2015. We had the Olympic qualifier for Rio. We missed out on qualification for Rio on sudden death penalties against China, who were ranked 5th at the time. So, but we had beaten teams like USA. We beat South Africa 4-1. We beat USA. We beat Uruguay. Like, we topped our group in that Olympic qualifier. And we ended up, because China messed up their pool, the way it crossed over was we ended up facing China, who we shouldn't have if they had played well in their group. But the point is, okay, we missed out. We took them to sudden death penalties, and we missed out on penalties to qualify. But we outperformed ourselves as a nation, completely in that tournament.
But even though you outperformed yourself, did it hurt, or did it spur you okay, we're this close now? We know what we got. We can get better.
Yeah, I think initially it was like, okay, that's it. Like, we're never going to be better than this, but we're never going to play better than this. We just thought, like, that was it. How can we get any better than this? Right. And so that was kind of the initial thought. And then, it was like, well, we don't really have a choice. We either get back up and go again, or we all just retire and let that be it. And it was great that the majority of the team said, like, we're going to get back up and we're going to go again. And that kind of started
How hard was that mentally? Like, I mean, because
it was really tough. I mean, that was when I kind of took some time out. It was 2016. Like, we didn't have a summer program in 2016 really for hockey. Right. At this stage, like, we're very amateur at this stage. We're sort of semi-professional now, but at this time we're completely amateur. So there's no funding for a program. There's no funding for players or anything like that. And because we didn't have a major competition in 2016, I decided to take a year to go over to the States and to work as an engineer and try and develop another side of my career, my professional career.
But then you start training with me, and that's what probably spurred you on.
Well, I mean, obviously, look,
world-class athlete, recognized world-class athlete. I mean, iron sharpens iron. So you were like, wow, this guy thinks he's an athlete. I know I'm an athlete. I can't get shown up. Oh, I still got it. You know what, girls? Let's go back and take what's ours and show these girls what it's all about and who runs this field hockey game. Am I not right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that was not too bad. I mean, I suppose in 2017, then that was the start of the qualifying for the World Cup. And so we qualified for the World Cup, and that's 2017 was the start of the qualifier. And then that leads into the second part of the qualifier in June. We win that. We go to the Europeans. We stay up in the Europeans, and we go to the World Cup then in 2018. And like, there was no pressure on us. We'd finally gone to a tournament where we couldn't be relegated. We couldn't not qualify. Like, there was no pressure on us. Like, nothing could happen. We went there with no real expectations from our home, from our country, from ourselves. We had an expectation that we wanted to perform and know that we could cause an upset on some level, but at what level we didn't quite know. And so we just took it one game at a time. And
that's
you know, you go back to the Mariah Carey thing. It just sums up sort of the mindset that we were in during that whole tournament. It was just this, like, let's just enjoy it. Yeah. You know, like the girls were playing All I Want for Christmas because, you know, it was a relatively young team and no one had been to a World Cup before. None of us had ever been to a World Cup.
Right.
And so getting up every morning to play in a World Cup, you know, a couple of the young girls said, it feels like Christmas, you know, it feels like Christmas. And so sure enough, like, we're doing our morning stretch in the middle of London, like there's commuters going to work, you know, walking in between us. We're like spread out all over the middle of London. And we have our sound system playing, you know, the speaker going with Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas. I mean, it was the middle of July, it was like 32 degrees. But it became kind of a symbol of the tournament and the success that we had. I'm sure Mariah herself even gave us a shout out in the end. So
that's great.
We were thrilled with that. Yeah,
that's awesome. But you know, they always say the most dangerous person in the world is somebody who doesn't have anything to lose. And I think without having any pressure on you, that's probably why. Because you guys, absolutely. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you outperformed yourself. And when you saw go ahead.
Yeah, we were second lowest ranked team in the tournament again. And to finish second, you know, that just elevated us. Then we went from being 15th in the world ranked to now being 8th in the world ranked, which is huge. You know, you're now inside the top 10. We're now a semi-professional outfit. Like, it just changes the sport in your country, and changes your life as an athlete, you know. So
because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to get too into, you know, whatever, but it was like, that wasn't the plan. Was after the World Cup you were going to retire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, okay, so do you tell yourself, okay, I have a chance to make the Olympic team? And now, go ahead.
The Olympics then became a little bit closer in reach, I think, because of us being moved up in the rankings. So going from 15th to 8th in the world meant that the qualifying route was going to be not easier, but it was going to be more in our favor with who we were going to likely to play. So it made, you know, the fact that, okay, finally, I thought my Olympic dream was over, because obviously it's every 4 years. And I was, you know, pushing on at that stage.
Stop it. You're still
after
young.
the World Cup. But yeah, like, again, you know, you have such a World Cup. It was really kind of what we had achieved at the World Cup that I was like, wow, like, we're actually very good here. And, you know, I really enjoyed playing against these top teams, and not just playing them, but beating them and matching them on the pitch. That it kind of makes you feel like, okay, maybe we're not done here yet. There's a bit more to go to this story and to this journey. Because
I know you were kind of tired, right? Like, okay, maybe, you know, like like I said, you've been on the team at this point 8 or 9 years, but you see another goal, like, you know what? I got the Olympics. Man, maybe I could push on a little bit more, because it had to spur you on. But has being on the Olympics, has that ever been? Was that always a goal to make the Olympics in whatever sport? Was being the Olympics? Because that was always a goal for me, to be in the Olympics. And so I always loved, like, and so that's why when I find out
still a goal for you, BT.
So what now?
It's still a goal for you.
Well, I think now I could be maybe a what's the sport where you in the Winter Olympics where you do it and you do that? What's that sport?
Fencing.
Where you,
Fencing.
Not fencing. I couldn't be a fence.
Curling.
Curling. I could be a good curler. That's like a janitor and a bowler together. I could be a good curler, I think. I think I'd be a good curler, because everything creaks now. So I think I'd be a good curler. As long as I didn't have to get down on the ground, I could be a good curler. So it's always been honestly, and that's always been a gold mine to be in the Olympics. So the fact that you made the Olympics, or, you know, you're going to be in the Olympics, how did that make you feel? I mean, how did it make you feel inside when that goal was accomplished, when at one point it was like unreachable?
Well, I mean, it hasn't been accomplished just yet. But
because of COVID, that's why. The only reason is because of COVID, because you were going. You guys qualified, right?
Yeah, we're qualified, but you know, you still have to be selected for the team as well. You know, like that's You're not just, if you're on the squad, you don't get to
Nikki,
go. And there's
you're
only
going to be on the
15
team. Nikki,
players.
Nikki, you're the most famous Daly in the country. You're the most famous Daly in the country. Derek Daly. I mean, what's Formula One? I mean, you're on the field hockey team that's going to the Olympics. You brought the sport to where it is now. That you're famous. They're not going to leave Nicci Daly off the team, okay? You are the shit and you know it. So don't even act like, yeah, I know you're trying to be all demure because that's how you are. You got a good heart. You're like, oh, no, BT, I couldn't. I know you. You're a great athlete. They're going to put you on the team. You're going to get a cereal box like Wheaties, and then you're going to have a field hockey stick like this, and you have a gold medal. And so how did that make you feel? I mean, because you're going to be on the team. When everything gets back to normal, you're going to be on the Olympics. I mean, how did that make you feel knowing that you're going to the Olympics and that goal has been achieved?
Yeah, like the night that we qualified, it was, again, we didn't make it easy for ourselves. We went to a penalty shootout and it went to sudden death, but this time we won. But I think it was just a sense of relief. It was like, oh my God, we've done it. Like we've done it. Like it's all been worth it the whole 10 years. And like, it hasn't been an easy ride. Like we've lost more matches than we've won. We've,
but it doesn't matter.
Been disappointed more times than we've been, happy or not disappointed.
But that's what makes you guys great. When you go through the shit and you go through the hell, but you've been together as a team, it makes you closer. And when you start winning, and like you said, you didn't make it easy on yourself. You had to go through the penalty, not kicks, but the penalty, whatever, the shootout. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say. Don't look at me that way. You know what I'm trying to say. But when you come through that, it makes you stronger as a team. So when you get in those matches where it's tight, you guys know what you're about, and you're more closer as a team than anybody because you've been there together. I think when you go to war with somebody, that's what makes you tighter as a team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we've certainly become a shootout team. That's for sure. We've won more shootouts now in big games than I can remember. Like to go from, obviously losing a shootout to qualify for Rio, we went to 2 shootouts in the World Cup for the semi-final and the final, and we won both of them. And then, went to a shootout again there and for the Olympic qualifier, and we won that one. So I think, yeah, like that, all these different experiences is what makes you stronger at the end of it. And whether they're good or they're bad, it's all part of the development and the growth that you go through as a team, and as an individual and an athlete as well. So, I think without all of the disappointments and without the hard road that we've been on initially, I don't think you'd even enjoy it as much.
Exactly. And that's why you're enjoying it. I mean, now, doing all this, while you're going through that, you still had motorsports at the forefront. I mean, I think motorsports, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where the passion still lies, was motorsports, because even when you were doing all that, you were still working for Juncos Racing here in Indianapolis. You were, and like I said in the very beginning, if you guys forgot, your cousin is Connor Daly. So is there a little bit of you, just a tad that still goes, if I would have just had that path, I could be in that race car?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I mean, that wants to be a racer. Because, I mean, when I'm on the grid at MotoGP, and honestly, and you know me well, so you know that when I look at those guys, I have to shut my eyes because that's where I've always wanted to be. And it's like, sometimes I can't go out there because I know I'm going to freak out, so I have to stay back there. And I got to take a deep breath, and there's a sense of like yearning that never will be fulfilled because I always wanted to be a racer. Number one, and that motorsport has never left my heart. And it's funny you said it because it was always wrestling, but always motorsport. Wrestling was more attainable, but motorsports is always a passion. So when you're around racing, and you were doing your field hockey, it was still racing, or motorsport was still in your heart. And so how did you have the wherewithal to still stay with it and still want to be connected with it?
Yeah, I think it's just something that I definitely wanted to be a racing driver. Like that was, and I'd love to have seen how good or how far I could have went with it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, BT, I've beaten you a few times in go-karting.
No. Whoa. Okay, first of all, whoa. Don't say you beat me a few times. What it was we went 1-1 that afternoon. Listen, for anybody who's not listening, Wyatt is my producer. Wyatt, show Nikki your face. Wyatt is my producer. He's 19 years old. This kid is one of my idols. 19 years old. He's my producer. He's the one that does everything. And I'm gonna tell him right now. Here's what happened. It was me, your cousin Connor Daly, who races, another cousin, and some girl with stinky perfume. So it was It was 4 of us on an indoor karting track. And the great thing about it is I knew when that visor goes down, I knew you were all business. That's the great thing. That's what I love about you. You're the nicest person in the world, almost too nice. But when that visor goes down, you're all business. I had no business with it. I had no problem with that. But let's be honest. The racing went Daly, which is Connor, and then it went BT, and then Daly, which is you. And so the next race, it went Daly, and then you were the Daly, and then it was me, and then the other Daly, and then Stinky Perfume. But remember that? So that's the way it was. That's the way it was. So
I beat you. That's the only point I was trying to make here.
No, we went 1-1. We went 1-1. Okay, let's get this straight. We went 1-1. I just remember we were racing.
That was just to make you feel better about yourself.
No, it wasn't. Because after that race, we went to Toys R Us to get a gift, I think for Carter or somebody, and you still had a little. You could tell it bothered you a little bit that we split because you expected to beat me because you had all that racing in your bloodline, and there I was, a young brother from the streets, and what does he know about racing? And I beat you. So I know that.
Yeah,
I know that
do
still.
you not remember the time we went out to Whiteland?
You ain't got to bring that up. I was scared. I was in a town called Whiteland in Indiana. I was scared. I was only one of 3 brothers out there. We were in a cornfield. That's where hate crimes happen. So I was scared. Okay, so don't even start that. I was scared, and I had my motorcycle boots on. If I didn't have my motorcycle, I wasn't ready to race. I had my motorcycle boots on, my motorcycle jacket.
You sound like a racing driver now. You got all the excuses.
Okay, you know what? It's over. No, okay. Well, why don't we talk about your go-kart? Why can't you start racing go-karts now? I mean, you're still young and wry and everything is spry. Why don't you race go-karts now?
Well, I've done a couple of go-kart races over here, but I mean, I'd only do it for fun, and I will. I do have a go-kart. I've done a couple of races, but I think the organization that I've set up now to try and encourage more girls to get into karting and to get into motorsport in general is probably more my focus on the motorsport side.
And this is what I love, and this is what initially what I wanted to get into. But I wanted people to know where you were coming from, the backstory and all that. I didn't want to just start off with that. But here's what, and I tried it through this whole show, this whole chat with who I talked to on all these episodes is just the inspiration you are, because I tell people you don't realize somebody's looking up to you. And you're somebody's role model, and it doesn't. I know it doesn't seem like it, or you don't feel it. But somebody now is looking up to you, and you're their inspiration. Like, oh my God, she can do it, I can do it. And like you said, there's not very much diversity in a racing paddock. I mean, I think it's better. It's a lot better now than it used to be. But I mean, you grew up in the old school days. I definitely did. I grew up in the black and white where they had leather helmets and they had the goggles like this. I grew up a long time ago. So it's like there wasn't any diversity. So I think sometimes that scares people off. They go, well, I can't do it because nobody else has done it. But now seeing you and what you're doing with your Go Girls karting initiative, tell people what that's about.
The Go Girls karting is basically trying to open up the sport to young girls and to show them that this is a place for girls to be. A lot of young girls, especially here in Ireland, they wouldn't be overly familiar with motorsport, and any interest or knowledge that they have of the sport, they see it as a male-dominated sport, which it is. So they're not wrong. But with that, they don't see many females, so they don't have that, like what you're saying, that role model there to kind of say, okay, like if she can do it, I can do it. So the idea of the Go Girls karting is to open up the sport, like you said, make it inclusive rather than exclusive, and to highlight the different career opportunities that are involved within the sport. So we use motorsport as a platform to teach STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and maths, and so that these girls can understand how these subjects apply to a sport like motorsport. And by by bringing these STEM subjects to life and using motorsport as a platform, it makes it a little bit more of a fun learning environment for them, and encourage them maybe more to go down engineering path or mechanic route or science or tech, or even into a motorsport career as well.
Okay, now here's something that I found. I don't know if you've done it before, but because I know that, like I said, you've only been like maybe 1 or 2 females in like your engineering class. So did you find yourself? And I talked to Amy Dargan about it, or Amy Reynolds with MotoGP. We were talking, and she has a similar initiative where he's trying to get women more involved in the paddock and in motorsports. Where growing up, she kind of felt like she kind of had to either dumb down her conversation, or I got to go this path because guys won't, like that, or girls don't do that. Did you find yourself doing that subconsciously in a way?
Yeah, but that was kind of the same as, when I first went to the States. I kind of was like, oh God, am I going to be accepted here? Am I going to fit in here? How's this going to go? Because, I don't see any other girls around here, and I don't know of any other girls that work in motorsport. So yeah, that was the feeling I had. And I suppose that's where the idea for forming a female and the Go Girls Karting initiative came from, is trying to show young girls that, yes, here's a load of different engineers working in MotoGP, IndyCar, Formula One. You can be just like them, and this is how you go about doing it. So it's trying to open up that sport to make it seem like it's an opportunity that's out there, and an opportunity that exists for every young girl out there, no matter what their background is, or where they come from. So that was the idea around the Go Girls Karting initiative. The other side of it then is to use females that are already in the sport here as role models, to show them that, like, here we have young Alex Kobe. She's a 16-year-old kart racer in Ireland. She's one of the best karters in the country, both male and female. She holds multiple track records here in Ireland, and she's racing in Europe against some of the best karters in the world. And she's only 16, and she has the ability to be a role model to so many young girls in Ireland and around the world, to show them that, look, here you go. You can be a driver, you can be an engineer, you can be a mechanic.
Having goals set. I personally think that when women have, and I think especially for women, because guys, it's almost like okay, they can set, and that's not all sports for everybody, but I think sport for women is especially great because it doesn't lead to, I don't know, they go for women, they can get pregnant or do whatever and go down a different path. But I think when they're in sport, it has them more focused, and I think they're more successful in life when they do that, because like I said, you working with a team, and even in sport, when you're individual sport, it's still a team involved. I mean, there's still people, maybe you have a trainer that works you out. And the mental side, having somebody like your uncle, Derek Daly, has he helped you in this initiative and trying to get, the ball rolling and making the connections he had in Formula One? Has he helped you in that?
Yeah, Derek's always been, a great shoulder for me, because he's been through it. He's made all the mistakes. He'll tell you himself. His career kind of, went from not to 100, like, in the shortest possible time. And so he's really has quite a lot of knowledge around the sport, and what works and what doesn't work. So he's always been there to help me. He's studied racing drivers for the past, I don't know, 30 years, while he's been doing television and following the careers of these drivers. So he understands the mental side of what it is to be an athlete as well. And he's always just been so involved and engrossed in what makes people successful. And he uses motorsport as his platform to figure that out. So he's been, personally as an athlete, he's been such a help to me, but obviously with his knowledge around the motorsport industry as well,
I know he helped you in the mental sense. And I thought this was great, is that he taught you, what did he teach you mentally and how to get over in sport? Because you said, you kind of like the little low self-esteem. I might be putting words in your mouth, but you weren't the most confident person in the world.
Yeah.
And he taught you these mental techniques on how to get over that. And what did he teach you?
Yeah, he just basically taught me how the mind works. And, I was not a hugely confident person or
And why
athlete.
is that?
I don't know. I think I just, if it didn't, I think I knew deep down with the potential I had, but if I couldn't always produce it, that would make me think, oh, people think I'm no good, because that's what they're after seeing. They haven't seen me when I can do something really well. And I struggled to kind of unlock that potential consistently. But it was very much like a negative mindset that I had, and kind of stopping myself from playing naturally, or just freeing myself up to be allowed to make mistakes. And I ended up being like limiting myself and like sabotaging my own, playing career.
How? Like how? In what way? In what way? How did you sabotage
Just like being afraid to play. You end up kind of not shying away from the ball, or when you get the ball, you try and pass it away really quickly instead of showing what you can bring. And my areas, my skill set is, skillful, taking players on, eliminating, and going hard at defenders, and trying to, create play. But when you're not too confident in yourself, you tend to go into yourself and shy away from doing all those things that make you a great player. So he kind of just worked a lot with me on how I'm speaking to myself probably internally, and using visualization was a huge technique for that.
Right.
And trying to, rather than, something good happen, that depicts or dictates whether I'm confident or not, instead trying to create these favorable circumstances, as he called them,
Do you think
allow
you're a
my
great
confidence
player?
to grow.
Do you think you're a great player?
Yeah,
Yes or
I
no?
think yeah,
Okay.
I do now.
Well, you know what? Some people feel like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't say, maybe sound cocky, but you're not. I mean, you're just being confident. So I would ask, are you a great player? And
Yeah.
what's your best attribute? What's your best attribute as a field hockey player?
Probably my skills.
And what are those skills? I mean, you're like the guy from Taken. You're like Liam Neeson in Taken. I possess a particular set of skills. So, what are your skills?
No, it's ball control, probably.
Okay. And what's your weakness? What's your weakness? Or do you have one? Are you
goal
like the Michael
scoring.
Jordan?
Goal scoring.
Scoring?
Goal scoring.
Well, work on your weakness until it's your strength. Everybody knows that. I need to be your coach also.
You are. Listen, you give me great advice. I appreciate it, PT.
Now you just kiss it up. Okay, well, listen. What made you want to help young girls though to get into motorsports? What made you? Because of what you went through, or because you don't have to do that. You could be selfish and be like, you know what? I want to get up. I want to do this, and the hell with everybody else. I mean, but you don't. You want to help others, and that's what I found. Like I said, I know you, so I know your heart, and I think that's what's beautiful. But the people who don't know you, what made you want to help other people?
Well, it was my experience, my experience of going to college and being the only girl, and that feeling of, oh, should I be here or not? And sort of the uncomfortableness maybe that I put on myself, and just kind of make it look like this isn't typically for girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted it to become normal. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I wanted it to become just do you want to do motorsport engineering? Here you go do it. Look at all these girls that are doing it. And just open the sport up more. And I wanted to see more female racing drivers. I want to see a female get to the, victory lane at the Indianapolis 500. Yes. I want to see the next Danica Patrick, or, the next Formula One driver. Layla Lombardi, I think, might have been the last one. So, I would love to see females, but I think in order to do that, you need to grow the pool, the number that are currently competing. And the only way to do that is just increase the awareness and make the sport so much more accessible than it already is.
I feel the same way. I mean, I would love to see a field of diversity. I mean, racing is expensive, and that's what really kind of levels the playing field. It's very expensive, so it's hard for a lot of people. You get the sponsorship, a lot of stuff we don't see. But man, I would love to see. You know what? I'd love to see kill two birds with one stone. A black female race car driver. What? Oh my goodness! And we're on the same team together. Like, I don't know what I can do. I'm not smart with the numbers like you are. I could maybe. Well, you don't need to hold a pit board because you guys got it. I could do something. I could shine the car up. Have a black female Formula One racer, what? And you're the team chief, and you're like, listen here, I don't know, Wakanda, what you need to do is, you need to really hit this first turn. That's where you're making up tenths of a second. She's like, I got you, Nikki. I got you, girl. And we like win. How great would that be? The first female, she's in Formula One, and she's black too. I'm happy. You're happy. The world, not so much. But how great would that be?
No, I do think that, people are more aware of it. And I think Formula One and the motorsport industry as a whole is now realizing that they do need to make this sport more inclusive rather than exclusive, and there is that exclusivity sense to it, in the sense, like, if you don't have money, you're just not going to get you don't get an opportunity, or you don't get to even try and see if this is something that you could be successful at. And it's great to see the likes of Formula One, and I know that Derek sent me an article yesterday about this inclusion program that's being backed by Penske.
That's great.
At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where they're trying to open up the sport to, like, diversity, inclusion, everyone and anyone, and trying.
So I can race. I can race. So I got a chance.
Kids, BT, kids. Oh. But it is, and it's brilliant, and it's about making the sport more accessible, and providing an opportunity there for these young people. Like I said, it doesn't matter who they are, but it's trying to make it that if there is a young Black female who's good at karting and she's showing talent, that, hey, look, we have a program here in place now. Let's get her to the next level. Let's get this other girl from whoever, maybe a difficult background, who,
Right.
you know,
Right.
These opportunities are now available for them. And that's part of what my initiative with the Go Girls karting is, making it all, you know, it's, my program's €10 to do it for the day. So, you know, most schools take that cost on themselves.
Right.
And it just means that everyone gets the opportunity to experience it, and that it's not just for private schools or, you know, people with money or things like that.
Well, I think that's great, Nikki. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love what you're doing. I saw that, and honestly, you were in my wheelhouse to do this. And it's funny because we all went out to eat. It was me and Wyatt. And Wyatt goes, "Hey, do you have your guests for tomorrow?" And I go, "Nah." And I swear to God, I go, "You know what?" And I said, "No, it's last minute," but I go, I always want to talk to you about that. And I go, "Why not do it now?" You know what I mean? And I know I'm close to you. So, and I thought this is going to be great. So, and that's why I did that, because I just want people to look up to people like yourself and say, if she did it, I can do it. Because you're basically, honestly, for people in Ireland, you're like the Jackie Robinson of females in motorsport, with your history and the family name. And now you're going to get an Olympic gold medal. I mean, you're like golden. You're like famous. I mean, you are. You probably get a street named after you. Maybe, you know, have some liquor like Conor. You know, like Conor. What's his name? The fighter. What's his name? MMA fighter.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor McGregor. You're like the female Conor McGregor. You get like a liquor named after you. How great is that gonna be? So before we get out of here, here's what I'm gonna ask you some quick questions. Okay, rapid fire. Who's your favorite race car driver there is currently? Favorite race car driver currently?
Currently, Conor Daly.
Conor Daly. What's your cousin? Okay, besides your cousin. You know, that was easy. That's nepotism.
Okay, Charles Leclerc.
Who?
Charles Leclerc.
Oh, really? Over Lewis Hamilton?
Sorry.
You know what? What he's doing with that Ferrari, yeah, I will give you that. That Ferrari is trash. You know the pickup truck that I have? It could beat that Formula One car. My pickup truck with 405,000 miles could beat that. Could beat that Ferrari. Okay, who's your favorite? Who's the next female driver? Who's the next female big thing in racing, in motorsport?
Alex Colby. She's Irish.
I saw that. You know, I followed her because of that. Because I think I talked to you online a week before you went to the race in France.
Oh yeah.
And I followed her,
awesome.
and didn't she get booted out in the final or whatever?
Yeah, she got taken out in the final, but she qualified third, and she was running top 3 all weekend. And
but that's racing.
Yeah, she was really, really good that weekend.
But that's racing.
Really
that's racing. Okay. And
racing,
how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? And when it's all said and done with, you know, and you know, you're like at the end, and you know it, and they go, Nikki, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
I think probably just somebody that, you know, maybe, I don't know how to describe it, but just went after what I was passionate about and saw it out. And if it was a bit different to most people's passions, so be it. Like, just if it's something that you're into, like, go for it, and don't let up, and don't be worried or anything. Just see it through.
That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, and what if you can let us just a peek? If you can have a peek into your goal setting, and let's a little peek. What's your next goal? Your next 2 goals. If you could let us have a peek.
The next 2 goals, probably to keep the initiative going, maybe take it to the next level, the Go Girls Karting Initiative, and to make the Olympic team.
Good for you, baby. I'm so happy for you. Nikki, I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am to have you on the show. And honestly, like I said, if just one girl goes, yeah, I want to be like Nikki because of Nikki Daly, and she's holding up a trophy in a Formula 1 circle, or Formula 2, or Formula 3, whatever, and they hold up a trophy, and they say, because of you, Nikki, and she starts crying, and we're popping bubbly, we're popping champagne, and I'm on the Olympic team. And even though I am old, I made the Olympic team all because of you. I'll give you a shout out. So I want to say thank you so much for everything, Nikki. I mean that. Good luck in the Olympics. Is it set? You're going to be in 2021 now, right? Instead of this year?
Yeah, they're saying 2021. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but at the minute it's going ahead. So let's hope COVID stays put.
Yeah, let's hope. Okay, and any websites they should go to that anybody should look up now if they want to?
Yeah, you can look up formulafemale.org is our Go Girls initiative, and there's some information on that about everything that we're doing at the minute. other than that, you can follow me on social media, Nicci Daly 22, NICCI DALY 22, or Formula Female.
FormulaFemale.org or Nikki, that's NICCI Daly number 22. Why 22? Why 22?
22 was actually the number I was first given when I got my first cap. And then, it's probably quite a high number, if you think about it, there's only 11 players on the pitch, so 22. And then I was offered a lower number, after a couple of caps, there was a couple of tires or numbers available. And I said no, because 22 actually, there's a bit of a history there. My dad was 22 when he raced. Derek was 22 when he raced Formula One, and Connor was also 22 when he raced for Juncos Racing, and he won the championship in the Pro Mazda. So I said, no, I want to keep 22.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it's great. It's great to kind of have that number.
Beautiful.
Along with the rest of the people in my family.
I love it. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love it. I was telling Wyatt, I said, for some reason, man, I don't know. I had my last guest was Simon Patterson. He's a writer for MotoGP. He's a journalist for MotoGP. And we get along like this. And he's Irish. And something about the Irish and black people, we get along great. I don't know what it is, but there's we get along from day one. I remember.
We're just nice people.
But you are from the day one. I remember going. A phone call said, "Hey, Nikki's at the airport," and I hadn't met you yet, and you were going to fly out, and I was just coming in, and I go, "Nikki," and you were like, "Oh God, is he really like this all the time?" And you had this look on your face like, "Oh my God, I don't know you," and I gave you this big hug, and you're like, "Okay." Security, and I just remember scaring you. I remember like, this girl is tiny. I remember telling you like, this girl I'm gonna crush her. She's tiny, and I think that's where our lifelong friendship began. And honestly, I think the world of you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love every time we contact each other. And man, my heart goes to you. I wish I could see you in person, but I'm rooting for you, whatever you do. And if you want to come back on, whenever you tell me, we'll get this done. Nikki, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
BT, thank you so much. It was great to be here. I miss you, my friend, and good luck with the rest of your podcast. I think you do a brilliant job. You're so funny, and I wish I could see you in stand-up soon.
Thank you, and we'll come back over and race, and we're gonna be me, you, Connor, and no stinky perfume girl. It's gonna be all the dailies,
and no more excuses, BT.
No more excuses. Thank you so much, Nikki. This is BT with Tales from the Gemini podcast. Thanks for watching so much, and like we say around this time, you know the word. Peace.